Stocks on Wall Street end session lower as investors continue selling AI-related stocks. Dow sheds more than 170-point. Investors looked ahead to the weekly jobless claims and the PCE inflation data due later this week. Asian markets trade mixed. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a lower start for the Indian markets. Oil prices climbed about 3% as a surprise drop in US weekly crude inventories added sense in the market of lightening supplies. Meanwhile, gold hovers near its record high levels as geopolitical tensions continue. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman launches GST, that is a Goods and Service Tax Appellate Tribunal, says it will be key for ease of doing business. The GST Appellate Tribunal is expected to streamline dispute resolutions and reduce the litigation backlogs. Hello, good morning. You've tuned into Power Breakfast. I'm Vinny Motiwala coming live from the Mumbai News Centre. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. Now, in terms of the markets, what are we watching out for today? Asian markets are giving us an indication. It's a bit of a mixed opening there. Look at the Taiwan index, Hang Seng. A very muted day of trade coming in there, right? Slight bit of a negative bias that we're seeing for both these indices. Now, Nikkei, on the other hand, is managing to hold on to gains of 0.4% this morning. Shanghai, again, is very muted. ASX 200, that's the Australian index, that's also very muted in trade. In terms of the Nifty, what is that indication that we're getting right now? Nifty implied open is indicating a negative start for the Indian markets, down 40 points right now. So that is what we'll be keeping an eye out on. A muted to a negative start is what we could watch out for in terms of the Indian markets as well. Cues have not been very exciting from the global front. So that seems like the pressure is continuing for the Nifty implied open as well. 40 points down as of now, approximately. But all these cues are something that impacts our markets, right? So we should set you up for trade. We should tell you which are the important stocks to watch out for, and that is what we'll be doing. Our team of research is here for that as well. First up, Vivek, good morning. Let's start with these important cues that we're watching out for in today's trading session. As of now, a muted start, right, is what the indication is.
Good morning, Vinny. Absolutely right. Essentially whole of last week we saw strong buying. Friday we saw a bit of a dip, and that particular trend has continued into this particular week as well. All sessions this week we've seen negative closes. Now, overnight cues slightly subdued. US markets continued to fall for the second straight session. All of the indices ended anywhere lower by 0.2 to 0.4%. On the other hand, oil prices yesterday saw a significant jump of almost 2%. Oil prices now have reached a 7-week high. In fact, the Brent went up higher by 2.5%, around the $69.5 a barrel mark. Along with that, the US dollar also strengthened overnight. This after it appears as though the rate cut trajectory may be slower. Along with that, if you're looking at commodities, gold prices, something that continues to hover near lifetime highs. On the other hand, yesterday Nifty failed to hold on or cling on to the 25,100 level. Market breadth was largely in favor of the declines. Advanced decline ratio was quite weak. Did see a brief attempt at an intraday recovery, but that was quickly sold into as well. What saw selling pressure? Well, the entire auto pack did see a profit booking come across. Real estate, that continues to be significant drags. Yesterday, especially Mumbai major MMR-based realty stocks took significant knocks in the session. On the other hand, a few sectors did stand out. Amongst them, auto ancillaries did quite well. Minda Corp yesterday, after Vision 2030 targets were announced, was one of the top gainers. On the other hand, what is it that we are watching out for today? Well, there's a large block deal expected as far as Polyclab is concerned. Close to 1% of equity is expected to change hands. The IPO pipeline is at the highest it's ever been. Today, 2 IPOs opening. TrueAll Bioenergy, close to 840 crores are being raised, and Jin Kushal Industries, close to 116 crore. Day 2 of IPOs, day 2 of subscription, that is Jain Resource Cycling, EPAC, Prefab TEP, as well as BMW Ventures. These 3 stocks are day 2, and these 3 companies, and 2 companies are at the day 3 of the subscription, which is Sesha Sai Technologies as well as Anand Rathi. On the other hand, also keep an eye out for Solar World as well as Chara Institute. Like I mentioned, IPO pipeline is the highest it's ever been. Asian markets, GIFT Nifty, like you mentioned, all indicating to a subdued start to our own markets today.
Okay, Vivek, thank you so much for that. But let's go across to Sudarshan, who's here to tell us what are the cues in the world of F&O. Good morning, Sudarshan.
Good morning, Vinny. So, if the last week was about the gaining, market was gaining continuously for few sessions. This week, it's completely opposite. Yesterday, we saw that for the fourth straight day, market has fallen and closed with cuts. So, what are the major headlines? So, after IT, now it's a turn of financials which have become weak and are a major drag on the market. Second major headline is while FI selling has increased, DI's buying has come down. And third major headline is call writing continues to be very aggressive at all the levels. You talk about 25,100, 25,200, 25,300. At all the levels, we are seeing a huge call writing. So yesterday, we saw Nifty failing to hold the level of 25,100. At the end, it was a cut with of more than 100 points. And the similar pattern was seen with Nifty Bank, Nifty IT, and even Nifty Real Estate and Nifty Auto. For today, GIFT Nifty, following the global cues, is indicating a start with minor cuts, say 40 or 45 points. On the flows front, as I have told you that FI selling has increased. Yesterday also in the cash market, they have sold more than rupees 2,400 crore, while DIs have just bought around rupees 1,200 crore. In the index futures too, they have followed the similar pattern and they have sold more than rupees 590 crore. And now their long exposure has seen a minor increase, it's at 15%. But if you compare longs and shorts, they have added the short positions for almost 6,000 contracts, and before that, they have added long positions of just 2,600 contracts. What does options data indicate? Take a look at 25,100 call. Here, addition in open interest was 52 lakh, with premium falling to 110 from the level of 222. 25,300 call has seen addition of 37 lakh shares. Here also premium has fallen to 36 from the level of 102. Now on the put side, if you take a look, 25,000 put has seen addition of 25 lakh shares and premium has increased to 62 from 42, and 24,900 put has seen addition of open interest of 21 lakh shares, and here also premium has increased to 37 from 28. So support range for Nifty 24,900 to 25,000. Resistance zone would be 25,100 to 25,300. So I have taken support. First support, Nifty would try to hold the level of 25,000. If it slips below, 24,900 support comes. Resistance 25,330. For Nifty Bank, support would be 54,620, that is 20-day moving average, and resistance would be 55,401, that is 50-day moving average. Stocks in the bank, 3 stocks remain in the bank, same 3 stocks: HFCL, Saman Capital, RBL Bank. And apart from this, some of the stocks have seen fresh shorts, and those are from real estate by Godrej Properties and Samvardhana Motherson. After gaining continuously for like few sessions, now for the last 2 sessions, it has seen short addition. Keynes Technology has been seeing fresh longs, and also from PSU Bank Pack, Indian Bank remains strong, and yesterday also it has seen fresh longs.
Okay, Sudarshan, thank you so much for that. We'll keep an eye out on those stocks as well. But let's move on and talk about some of the latest updates that are coming in. NSE's MD and CEO Ashish Kumar Chauhan said that SEBI will consider stakeholders' view before any move on curbing weekly expiries. And speaking on NSE's long-awaited listing, my colleague Abhimanyu asked him when the NOC was expected from the market regulator SEBI. This is what he had to say on that.
We have been discussing with SEBI, and we had filed our application for settlement in June 2025, and we are awaiting the NOC. Once the NOC comes, as you know, it will take 4 or 5 months to prepare the RHP, and then another 4 or 5 months for SEBI to clear the RHP. So somewhere 8-9 months after the NOC is when the IPO can happen.
So there has been a buzz around curbing of weekly expiries and shift towards longer expiries like fortnightly and monthly. How is this likely to go through? Have you heard anything from the regulator in this regard?
No, we have not had discussions. What we have heard from the public pronouncements is that SEBI will come out with consultative papers, and all the participants' views will be taken into account by SEBI before taking any action.
Sir, if this goes through, what is going to be the expected impact on business? Could there be any meaningful reduction in volume?
Naturally, in the initial phases, that could be, but over a period, things basically come down to normal, and it remains to be seen how overall what kind of final outcomes are there of the consultative paper.
So there's a buzz around the same-day expiry for BSE and NSE. Could that be a part of the negative from the discontinuation of weekly expiry set-off?
In a way, it was always there. A common settlement was always there for more than 25 years now. Only in last few years there have been some changes, but overall, again, it's up to the regulator of what they want to do, and then we'll have to all obey the regulatory framework.
Okay, that's the update coming in there. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. Up next, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has launched a Good and Service Tax Appellate Tribunal. We get you details on the other side. Welcome back to Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now let's move on and talk about the US markets because Wall Street ended lower for the second straight day, and this was mainly dragged by tech stocks as investors pulled back their AI investments. Let's go across to CNBC's Steve Kovac, who is getting us a wrap on everything that happened on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were down across the major indexes in Wednesday trading as tech investors pulled back on AI investments for the second straight day. The Dow dropped by 172 points, the S&P 500 lost 19 points, and that tech-heavy Nasdaq was lower by 76 points. New home sales soared in August, up more than 20% in July, when mortgage rates were actually higher than they are today. It's the largest increase in 3 years. That's according to new numbers from the U.S. Census on Wednesday. But the National Association of Home Builders caution there's a large margin of error for new home sales, and next month's revision should paint a better picture of the health of the housing market amid a weakening labor market. Energy Secretary Chris Wright announced Wednesday that his department will return to the U.S. Treasury $13 billion that was slated to subsidize wind, solar, batteries, and electric vehicles. The money was set aside during the Biden administration for its climate agenda, which Wright called wasteful spending. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you, Mumbai.
Thank you so much for that. Let's in fact also listen into some market opinions coming on the valuations of the US equities and the way forward.
It's not to be bearish on equities because you hit a certain level of valuations. It tells us nothing about the next 6 months, 12 months, but it does tell us a lot about expected returns over the next 5, 10 years. And we've now reached a point where multiples are at 23 times. They're more expensive than we started the year, which is some of the highest levels we've seen in 20 years. So that should moderate your expected return. So a lot of conversations we're having with clients now, finally thinking about active within U.S. equities. That's a huge change. And thinking about international equities.
Valuation is one of those things. It's like tasting wine, right? Everybody's got different views. I think there's a lot of ways you can look at the equity market and say we have an incredible earnings outlook ahead of us. We've got an investment horizon that looks incredible based on a lot of the changes that have taken place in the policies, whether it's dereg, whether it's the one big beautiful bill, whether it's tariffs forcing some people to the table to invest more back in the United States, which is a huge positive that I don't think a lot of the models at the Fed are taking into account. So I think there's a lot of reasons to be confident. And one of the reasons, that we've got a headwind a little bit to it, particularly in interest rate sensitive sectors and in the labor market, is that I think monetary policy is just way too restrictive. So I've been saying that for a while. I've been saying it since before the election, and I'm still sticking with it. Happy to see that they kind of have turned a little bit, but we've got a lot more to go.
Let's move on. And the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has launched the GS3 Appellate Tribunal, I beg your pardon, and that came in yesterday. Now, in a bid to expedite resolution of dispute between businesses as well as the tax department, the Finance Minister added that the GST Tribunal helps centre and states strengthen the cooperative federalism and that it will act as a national appellate tribunal from April 2026. Listen in.
With the GSTAT coming in now, center and states on board, we open a new era of predictable, specialized jurisprudence. This is cooperative federalism in action, and at its best providing a single, reliable appellate spine for the GST across the country. I actually think it's one of the strongest skeletal structure the the spine of the entire GST system is going to be provided by the G-Stat. Jargon-free decisions in plain language, simplified formats and checklists, digital by default filings, and virtual hearings and time standards for listing, hearing, and for pronouncement. From April 2026, the principal bench of the G-Stat will also act as the national appellate authority for advance rulings, providing businesses with clarity and ensuring consistency across states. This makes G-Stat not just a tribunal, it makes it a one-stop comprehensive forum for GST disputes, both before initiation and after initiation of the proceedings.
And let's move on. And the cabinet has approved shipping and maritime projects worth 70,000 crore rupees. This includes financial assistance and a development scheme for shipbuilding worth nearly 45,000 crore rupees. The government also cleared a maritime development fund worth 25,000 crores. CNBC TV18 spoke to the shipping secretary to understand how this will help India's shipping sector amidst global headwinds. And here's what he had to say.
Shipbuilding Financial Assistance Scheme builds upon an earlier scheme, which was the first version of the scheme. And the idea is to provide assistance to shipyards to bridge the gap between the cost of acquiring a ship abroad versus acquiring it in India. So this difference was about 15 to 20%. So this scheme incentivizes the cost of acquiring a ship, and it gives you a subsidy of 15 to 25% depending on how big the ship is and whether it is a green vessel and so on. Some of the largest ship builders in India are either in the defense sector or in the sole one is the CSL in the shipping ministry, under the shipping ministry. The net result of having only a few shipyards in the public sector and a couple of them, in the private sector, like in Pipavav or L&T or Shaugule, etc. But the thing is, we don't have capacity. Other countries, Korea and Japan and China, even Vietnam, they produce a lot more of tonnage every year. So this scheme was brought in, one, to improve the capacity of the brownfield shipyards, so that they can, so they get about 25% subsidy. The cost of capital cost of setting up new infrastructure in a brownfield shipyard, up to 25% we will give them.
Okay, on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. Up next, we'll get to the cues in the world of commodities. Stay tuned in for that. Welcome back to Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. Now it's time to get you the latest update in the world of commodities, and we have Manisha Gupta joining with us as always. Good morning, Manisha. What are we keeping an eye out on today?
Morning, Vinny, and thank you for that. For once, it's not gold and silver. We are looking at copper because the prices have gained 4% overnight. Copper is now trading at a 2-month high, and this is on the back of Freeport-McMoRan declaring a force majeure from Grasberg mine in Indonesia. Not just that, there also are concerns coming in from various other mines as well. Copper has been in short supply. We're talking about deficits in this year and perhaps next as well, and that in turn has been supporting copper. Also, that 50% tariff is something that did move the markets quite a bit. And from here on, the expectation is that copper perhaps could lead the metal as a segment in this year and the next as well. Gains also have come back in crude oil prices. After that near 3% gains, we are trading at a 7-week highs for the Brent crude prices. Well, the U.S. inventories have been declining, and there are export issues in Iraq, in Russia, in Venezuela as well, which are keeping the prices supportive. Just inches away from $70 a barrel for the Brent prices, markets do believe that yet another push could be seen in this week itself.
Okay, Manisha, thank you so much for that. So we're keeping an eye out on a lot of these other commodities as well. But with that, we're absolutely out of time on this edition of Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Thank you so much for tuning in. Nifty implied open is still indicating a muted start for the Indian markets. But you have Bazaar Morning Call up next. That will take you through all the action.